You know, and I know that the majority of the issues within our management force, middle managers, frontline managers, those that are really managing the people. So you and I know that succession planning that's a dream.
Right.
Unless we can collectively come together to figure out a way that when these baby boomers just get the hell out of the door,
Right.
that we find a way of what we're going to do to take over those roles. Because what's typically happened with those manager leadership roles has been like, oh, you've been here the longest, you know the job, you get that role.
Right.
I have seen a larger majority of my human resources contacts, connections that have been like, how did you get that role? I won't say the majority of my HR connections, scratch that. I will see the majority of the time where I've had organizations that have reached out to me in some capacity in regard to consulting has typically been they had an HR person and they went to, or they needed an HR role. Maybe there was an EOC complaint. Maybe they had to settle. Maybe in the terms of a mediation agreement, it said you have to have an HR manager because you're fucking this shit up, basically. And so then it's like, okay, I'll get my admin assistant or I'll get my accountant or I will get my general manager's daughter.
Yeah.
To now run the HR.
Yep.
And so it's difficult in a lot of ways to say, you know, because now I've seen in a lot of times is that has ruined the opportunity in so many ways for good HR people to be able to get opportunities. And a lot of times these people move up into VP roles.
Yeah.
These people move up in HR roles because then they just become a legacy within the thing. And it is so toxic and so devaluing to an organization that they will keep that individual there. Yeah. They will keep them there before they will take any value and stock into their people. And that's a rant.
No.
But in my mind, I was like, it started somewhere. Like the whole thing with the whole mass exodus and people leaving, it started somewhere.
Right.
There was a trust that was broken because you put somebody in a role that didn't know what the hell they were doing. You put somebody in roles where you did not put the value in them, or you did not provide or invest in them on their development to be a good leader, to be a good HR person. And now here you are.
Yeah. No, it's not a rant at all.
Rant over.
It's the gospel truth. There's so many. Yeah, they throw people in there, you know. I mean, my sister, for God's sakes, like the company she works for, it's the owner's wife. And, you know, my sister reaches out to me a lot, be like, I've got to pick your brain about HR. Because this is what's happening. And I'm like, yeah, that really should not be happening. And unfortunately, like you said, like succession planning is such a lofty idea and dream, and you know, we're gonna put it on our 1-year goal, our 5-year goal, our big hairy audacious goal list, because it sounds great and, you know, it gives us some warm and fuzzies, but no one ever executes it. And they're not investing in their employees or saying, hey, here's how we're going to develop a leadership program within the company, we're going to move you up this way or whatever, and here's how we can cross you over. And unfortunately, they don't do that. I mean, it's just the lack of training these days is just so awful. And, you know, the big thing you and I have seen in HR a lot is they put so much emphasis on degrees, you know. And I mean, I've hired people. Yeah. I worked for a company when I was an HR manager that I ended up having an HR assistant, and I had two mindsets. I'm either going to hire someone that has no more than a year of experience because I don't want them set in their ways, or I'm going to hire someone that is like straight out of college with an HR degree. I hired someone that had a master's degree in HR management, and unfortunately I had to teach him everything because he obviously didn't take what he learned and applied it. Of course, too, I think he also went and got his master's degree because his brother was going to school to be a doctor, so he had to, you know...
He had to one-up his brother.
Yep, keep up with the Joneses. Unfortunately, the Joneses was also his brother. And
not to discredit HR, but... Doctor, master's in HR.
Right. I'm a doctor.
Brother's still winning. Sorry, but brother's still winning.
So, and that, it was like, that was an aha moment for me. I'm like, holy shit, like, what the hell are they teaching? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, and that was just like a really wake up huge moment for me. And that's when, when I hired in my new person, I shifted everything in my department. And I just hired on a recruiter, and he was amazing. I knew from the get-go, he was going to do great, and he did. But it goes back to, like, we're not properly planning succession, training them, or saying, hey, yeah, you're an accountant, we're going to put you as HR, unfortunately, because we can't hire someone.
Mm-hmm.
But say, hey, why don't we send you to these workshops? And why don't you go learn or go shadow some HR people?
Why don't we take 6 months?
Right.
6 months.
Right.
That's not a lot of time.
Right.
When you think about it.
It's not. In the grand scheme of things, it's not. And that they don't do that. It's just, here it is, we throw you in, sink or swim.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, I've seen that, in a job that I currently work, where we have our HR people come in, and it's a whole other... I joke around. I'm like, hey, everything you know about HR, throw it out the window, because it's this is its own HR.
Yeah.
And, I've been trying really hard to stay on top of creating a training program for our department, because there's so much to take in, so much to learn, and it's almost like hitting the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
And me having a training and development background, it's hard for me to sit here and watch people almost be set up for failure.
Especially from the military.
Yeah.
When the military does have...
Yeah.
So
exactly.
that I'm sure you just...
Yeah, I'm like, I'm that one over there in the corner, just like twitching and, hitting the pencil against the head. But it's also one of those things too, where it's, oh, well, the only way you're going to progress up in this company is if you go up to the headquarters in another state. There is really no upward movement here within this location.
Yeah.
So then, okay, it's like, well, then how do you sit here and keep them, I don't even want to say entertained, engaged?
Right.
What makes them want to stay here, knowing that they're pretty much capped at what they can do within in this location?
Yeah.
Because personally, I don't want to move somewhere else. I have family here, I have friends here, I have roots here, and I think that's a huge thing. And it's getting to that whole investing in your employees.
Yeah.
And people don't do that. I mean, they look at the bottom line. Well, I can't really afford to, spend money on it. I can't afford to do this. Okay, well, go back to your freaking Excel spreadsheet and, see where you can move some numbers.
Right.
Because that's one of the number one things. People don't look for money. Our generation and the young whippersnappers below us, they don't look so much for the money as they do the work-life balance. The purpose. What does it serve me? How do I contribute to the overall success of the company?
Yeah.
What am I going to get out of it? I'll be happy if I'm here 3 or 5 years, as long as I know that I'm contributing to the work and I'm feeling good at the end of the day and not stressed out, not understanding, or like, I don't understand what I do here, how I contribute. And that's what companies don't understand. They think they can almost really buy their employees by, oh, here's money. Yeah, that's great. But when I'm leaving work stressed out and wanting to rip out my perfectly coiffed hair, it's just like, I don't want, I don't have any meaning.
Take your bonus and shove it up your ass.
Right.
Honestly, like
it
gets to a point, and that's the point we're at now.
Right.
Is you like, and I love you said the purpose, because I love that this generation of workforce and talent, where they have said, fuck this, if you are not going to take the time to invest in me with my purpose and everything, I'm going to go out and I'm going to invest in myself, and I'm going to do it on my own. And now we see the rise of the gig. We see the rise in consulting. We see the mass exodus. And yet leaders are still like,
well, why aren't you staying?
Well, let's just go back to the way we were doing it.
Yep.
And this is a problem with the labor market. They're lazy. There's too many unemployment benefits, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, that's not why people are not coming back, and that's not why the people are quitting.
Right.
What you just said is the reason why this generation of workforce and why we have no succession in our future. That's what is happening. It's like, you have failed for years.
Right. Well, I mean,
to invest in me.
Years.
I saw through the recession. You did not invest in my family members, my parents. I saw that you didn't take the investment, and you're doing the same thing to me. Fuck that, I'm out.
Right.